In April of 1983, Karen Schepers, a 23-year-old woman from Elgin, left a bar in Carpentersville after a night out with coworkers, and she's never been seen again. Now, a recently created cold case unit in the Elgin Police Department is hoping to finally solve a mystery that has persisted for decades.
The detectives believe the public can help, and that's why they're launching a new podcast called Somebody Knows Something. And tonight we're joined by the leaders of the Elgin Cold Case Unit, Detectives Andrew Houghton and Matt Vartanian. Welcome to both of you. It is just terrific to have you on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
What an idea to start something like this. Tell us what led to the creation first, though, of the Cold Case Unit.
Yeah. So our chief looked at this for about a year. We had to write a policy and go through a lot of different things for that, but we've always been kind of an innovative department. So we were one of the first agencies in Illinois to have body cameras. We use like a co-response model for mental health. We do a lot of different things that we feel like are kind of cutting edge or moving forward. Doing a podcast was something that we thought was a new technology that we could use to try to help with this case. So that's kind of where it came from.
So it's interesting, you know, you always hear, at least on the TV shows, that if you don't solve it within the first, 24, 48 hours, it goes cold and it's really hard. What are the unique challenges that you are facing with your cold case unit?
Yeah, so you have some of these cases that are just so old. So you have records from several decades. You have people that used to investigate the case that may not be alive. So trying to talk to them, you know, it's hard to find people, but trying to just basically kind of triage everything that we have, you know, put it together just to kind of find out what we have.
Yeah, a lot of it's paper reports and stuff too, handwritten reports, you know, so it's not, we're going through and digitizing things and looking at evidence now, you know, 40 years later is different because the technology's changed. So the hope is that with new technology, we can use that new technology to try to solve some of these cases.
Yeah, Elgin's been on the forefront, excuse me, as you mentioned, with body cams, and that technology was not there back in 1983. It just, your hands are tied in some ways because of that. Why this case? I know in that area, in the northwest suburbs, back in the early 80s, a lot of people knew about her, but why do you go with this case now in 2025? Here we are.
Yeah, so, you know, this being a missing person case, it's different than if it was like a homicide investigation. So there's not really much that we are not putting out there. We're being very transparent about this entire case because truly we don't know what happened. We have several ideas about what could have happened, but we need the public's help. And the idea with taking this case and putting it on the podcast is that somebody, you know, somewhere across the country, maybe they listen to it and just maybe it flips a switch in their mind to say, oh, I remember that night, or I remember seeing her or her car.
Mm-hmm. So you're wading into the podcast waters. How hopeful are you that this form, you know, this new sort of method is really going to be helpful to you?
I think it'll be helpful. I mean, we've done some articles with newspapers. Obviously doing this show helps us get information out that we have this unit in the first place. So we're kind of using Karen's case to showcase that we have this unit. We've been operating since about May of 2024. We have 41 open murder cases. We have 6 missing person cases. We have 26 sex assault cases. So we're looking at all those cases and trying to go back through them. Using that median, we can have people realize that maybe they don't know information about Karen's case, but they know about some other homicide case we have. So the more ears and the more listeners we can reach, we feel like that's going to help us get information on cases.
Is any other department doing something like this in the country? I'd be curious.
Yeah, there's a few that are around. I know that we're one of the few that are kind of in the area. I know some of the larger agencies have them, but you know, for us, it's always been you'll have a detective that kind of takes a case, you know, because they have their active caseload and they'll look at them, but there's never been a full-time unit. So we actually have the ability to kind of just dedicate our time to do that.
There's some agencies that will do a podcast for like one podcast about a case. We're trying to be a little bit unique in that we're going to do 12 or 13 episodes just about this case. So we're kind of walking through all of our working theories of what happened in this case. We're interviewing family members, you know, interviewing potential people involved in the case and trying to go through all those theories over a long form instead of just like an hour or a half-hour episode.
Oh, it's going to be multiple episodes on her case in particular.
Yeah, so it's going to be 12 to 13 episodes on her case.
Do you want to briefly just tell us about her case? Can one of you just walk us through what happened to Karen?
Yeah, so it was the night of April 15th of 1983. She worked at a local company in Elgin. A group of her and coworkers, they went out to a bar in Carpentersville, Illinois. They were having a good time. And then no one ever saw her again, or her car, which is very interesting. So
Ooh,
not,
car
yeah.
was missing too. Wow. So big piece of the puzzle.
Podcasting is hard, guys. I mean, it's what a task you're taking over, and just a terrific local effort. Is there some message as you come here for the first time? And we want you back, by the way, as you get some of these cases.
Thank you.
We really like to hone in on local stories. What's your message to the public right now as you get this started on Karen's case?
I think the biggest thing is her mom's 90 years old. She just turned 90 last year. She has 8 siblings, so there's a lot of family in the area. We want to try to get closure for the family and for her friends. And I think for us, really no tip is too small.
Right.
You know, we'd rather people call us and have us look at something and have it be, hey, we can write this off, it's not involved, as opposed to people being afraid to contact us. So any information people have, whether they think it's important or not, let us work that out. Like, we'd rather have people call us and just give us any information we can, because the more information we have, the better.
That's got to be comforting to the family to see that, for them to see you still actively working on this case.
Yeah, and that was one of the first things that we did is we talked with the family because we wanted them to be on board. We didn't want to open up old wounds or anything like that, and they're very supportive of this.
Great to meet both of you. Wearing the badges had us all sitting up on our best behavior, but it sends a real message that this is something you're going to take seriously and pursue, and we're glad you came on our program to do it.
Thank you for
we
having
appreciate
us.
it.
Yeah. So the first episode of Somebody Knows Something podcast, it's set to launch next month. It's going to be available on all your major podcast platforms. So if you search that, Somebody Knows Something, that'll pop up on your podcast, your favorite podcast stream, and you can get to listen, and then hopefully we can solve this case. Like I said, let's get them back on.
Very cool.
Yeah, maybe they'll solve it, and then we'll keep talking about these cases. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Watch breaking news on YouTube. Subscribe to ABC7 Chicago Eyewitness News.